For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Burgess, seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I move that the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 647.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
H.R. 647, a bill to amend Title 12 of the Public Health Service Act to reauthorize certain trauma care programs and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Burgess, and the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Gene Green, each will control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and insert extraneous materials in the record on the bill.
Without objection, so ordered.
Then, Mr. Speaker, I do yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized for such time as he may consume.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am pleased that the House today will consider 2 bills relating to the federal support for trauma care. These bills have both passed the Energy and Commerce Committee at the subcommittee and full committee levels on voice votes. Trauma is the leading cause of death under the age of 65. It is expensive, costing over $400 billion per year, third only to heart disease and to cancer. It affects all individuals of all ages, 35 million Americans annually, or 1 person every 15 minutes. Over many years, Mr. Green and I have worked closely on this issue to update the law and ensure that the reauthorization of trauma grant programs occurs. As a result of this coordination, today we will be voting on 2 bills that continue our long bipartisan record of support for efforts to shore up the nation's trauma systems and centers. The Access to Life-Saving Trauma Care for All Americans Act, H.R. 647, will authorize 2 grant programs that will expire this year that provide critically needed federal funding to help cover uncompensated costs in trauma centers, also support the core mission for trauma services, and provide emergency funding to trauma centers, and also address trauma center physician shortages in order to ensure the future availability of trauma care for all of our citizens. Trauma can happen at any time to anyone. It can happen to a family in a highway crash, or a gunshot victim, or a construction worker who's injured at the work site. Trauma centers must be available for all victims of traumatic injury. Getting a trauma victim to a trauma center right away is the first step in saving that person's life. These bills draw support from the American Association of Neurological Surgeons, the American Association of Orthopedic Surgeons, the American Burn Association, the American College of Emergency Physicians, the American College of Surgeons, the American Trauma Society, the Congress of Neurological Surgeons, the Association of Critical Care Transport, the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, Emergency Nurses Association, Society of Trauma Nurses, the American Association for Surgery of Trauma, the Eastern Association for the Surgery of Trauma, National Association of Emergency Medical Technicians, and the Orthopedic Trauma Association and the Trauma Center Association of America. I strongly urge the House to support both of these bills, and I'll reserve the balance of my time.